Welcome to Heidi Reddit Relationships. Today, we'll read some more stories from Reddit. But before we start, I would really appreciate if you could subscribe to the channel, like the video if you enjoyed it, and maybe leave a comment down below. That would help the channel a lot. Thank you very much in advance.
The first story is titled, I found out at 2 a.m. New Year's Day that my wife was having an affair. She kept going for another 8 months. M28 I had my first GF when I was 21, she was the first person I slept with too. I loved her, we got engaged and married and moved in together over a 6.5-year relationship. I started getting suspicious of her and one of her workmates who was extremely clingy towards her. There were many red flags, which I ignored as this woman was the love of my life and my wife. Why would she do anything so bad? But the suspicions kept building as more and more red flags appeared. I confronted her about these things, like him and her messaging constantly. I saw many messages from him to her with rows of heart emojis, how she would always favor going places with him over me, even when I specifically asked if me and her could go together. She took him to a bird park that I loved to go to, she had him over for one night when I was away, and the bedsheets were in the washing machine when I got home. I had enough on New Year's when she was purposefully being distant from me, like I was a bad guy, or I had done something wrong. I took her phone and found her messages with him, that night confessing to each other how much they loved each other. Obviously, I felt destroyed but fully attempted to keep our relationship going. I found they had been sexting each other a few weeks afterwards as well, and after a massive argument she promised to change. Fool me. They continued their thing until August where I found them out again. Before then there had been instances where she was purposefully distant to me, and lo and behold it was because she was doing things with him. Suspicion crept up again as she went to the gym 3 to 4 times a week, but only had one gym wear in the wash by the end of it, and she never was tired or did her fitness change. I demanded a divorce when I found out that she had named a star after him for his birthday, which was just a week or so before mine. As I had enough. She lied to friends and family about what had happened, stating that we were just getting distant and wanted different things. I retaliate with throwing everything on a FB post, including her confessions for the other guy, the naming the star purchase, photos of them out on trips which I had no clue of. I will admit, not my best moment, probably not fair either. After the divorce, I said I never wanted to hear or speak to her again. This was around 2 years ago, from time of posting, and in that time she has messaged me twice, both times I have completely ignored. But I keep the evidence of what she did safe just in case she tries anything. Honestly, for my first real relationship it was roller coaster. 4 months later, 4 days before Christmas, I lost my job, and my house and moved back into my mother's. Few years later and I'm back on my feet, with a new job, looking for a new house, and got back into my karate, which I'm in a kata squad now, and back in touch with lots of friends. Stuff her, I'm so much happier now. The next story is titled, Ex cheated with our pastor. I was married to first wife for about 9.5 years when I joined the local sheriff's office as a deputy. I was attending the academy. I was at home more often than usual, as classes were only from 8 to 5 during the week. I finished the academy and returned to shift work at the local jail, night shift, 12-hour shifts. 2 months later I got a weird feeling that something wasn't right. My wife kept spending time with pastor's wife sewing and crafting. I was off duty and have to change my sleep schedule. I'd go to bed with wife, but couldn't sleep. I went to restroom and saw a text on her phone at midnight. It was the pastor. Thinking it must have been an emergency, I picked it up and read it. It read, "Good night, my love." I was floored. Tried to find other texts but she had deleted them. If it was innocent, the older texts would have been saved. I woke her up at 1 a.m. to ask, WTF? She basically said it must be a typo, and why I was snooping. She turned tables on me and got defensive, kicked me out of our bedroom for a month and a half. I thought I had screwed up. I was so stressed I lost 35 pounds. In a month, couldn't eat, sleep, a real basket case. I got us counseling, recommended by the pastor. She had me apologizing to him for even thinking that anything was going on between them. She wouldn't talk to counselor, except for quoting Bible verses. She tried to play the holier than thou. After the month and a half of this, I saw her diary out unguarded. She had been so guarded of it and her phone since it all hit the fan. I read how she and him were in love and had to sneak around to be together, and that his wife knew. I calmly went to her and said, "You were right for hiding your diary from me. I just read it." Her jaw hit the floor, suddenly got all apologetic. She said, "I never meant it to go this far. I never meant to hurt you. Call him now, I want to talk to him." She called and I demanded to meet him in the morning. I did at a local fast food restaurant. I walked in with my phone in my pocket on record. I recorded our conversation, legal where I live. He admitted to the inappropriate relationship. He was such a hypocrite. He regularly preached against infidelity, and how he wouldn't counsel a woman alone due to people thinking the wrong thing. I let him speak enough to give me evidence. I was livid, hardest thing I ever had to do. I tried even harder to keep my marriage together, but I'm pretty sure the cheating continued. I moved out to keep my job safe so there wouldn't be any way she could lie and try to start a domestic violence issue and I'd lose my job. People at church asked her where I was for weeks. She lied and said I was working. They contacted me and I wouldn't lie for them. It took a while, but it all came out and he left the church he founded 25 years ago and started working in fast food, in his mid-50s. It took years for me to finally get over it, but it's messed me up as far as trusting people, especially preachers. Posting this not to be malicious, just sharing for others to read and hope it helps in some way for others going through same. The next story is titled, I, 21F, believe my boyfriend, 32 meters, of 1 year is emotionally cheating on me and I don't know how to talk to him about it. My boyfriend, we'll call him Rick, and I started dating about a year ago. A few months after he had ended a relationship with a girl, we'll call Jolene. We live in a small town, so I also knew Jolene previously, and my boyfriend and I are pretty good friends with some of her extended family. Jolene has a young daughter who absolutely loved Rick when they were together. However, when they broke up, they had a falling out for various reasons and cut contact. Rick would sometimes mention Jolene's problems with alcohol and drugs, issues parenting, and the fact that she had left him for someone she had previously had a very toxic relationship with. He would mention that he missed her daughter sometimes, but to my understanding he had no interest in being associated with Jolene at all. Now, about 2 months ago he brought up to me that Jolene and he had talked. I don't recall if it was over text or phone call, and she had apologized to him and told him she was clean and turning her life around. I remarked that it was admirable of her to own up and apologize for hurting him, and also to quit drugs and drinking, and I didn't think much else of it. A few days later he said that Jolene's daughter had been asking about him and she wanted to know if we could meet somewhere just to visit. Seeing as I was with him, and her daughter was with her, I had no problem with it. It was later in the evening, so we only met up for about a half an hour, and parted ways again. My boyfriend didn't mention anything else to me about Jolene, until about 2 weeks later when I was at my parents', grabbing some things before going to his place. He texted and said he was going to Jolene's aunt's place, a close friend of ours, to do a small last-minute job for her, so he wouldn't be home for a bit. I asked if I could stop by there on my way, and he hummed and hawed a bit before saying sure. When I got to Jolene's aunt's place, I was surprised to see that Jolene was there with her daughter. I know nothing fishy went on because her aunt and cousins would never let it fly, but it was just interesting to me that he had obviously been talking to her to know she would be there and decided to rush over while she was there to do the job. This is when my gut starts to tell me that there might be something more going on. In the last few weeks Rick has been periodically dropping Jolene's name more and more. For example, the other day he said she had asked him to take a look at her quad, so we met her out at her grandparents' place where it was stored, and he got it running for her. There have also been multiple times where I see a notification on his phone for a Snapchat or a text from her, but I didn't want to sound paranoid by asking about it. Today, Rick went uptown for a few minutes and left his phone on the table, and I couldn't help but look at it. He doesn't have a password on his phone, so I opened up his Snapchat and saw that they have a 9-day streak, which means they have been talking on Snapchat for at least 9 days consecutively. I then opened his messages with her, and though I didn't have much time to look, there were messages from yesterday of him saying that he was thinking about her, he missed her, and one message basically asking her out to dinner tonight. While I happen to be at my parents' place, as well as a message from a few days ago where she says something to the effect of her needing a house husband, and him asking if he could apply. I took screenshots of the messages and sent them to myself, then deleting the screenshots and texts to myself. I know that none of this proves that he has physically cheated, and I don't believe he has. Some people may not consider this emotional cheating, but I do, and I do think that it may escalate to physical cheating. The part that I'm not sure about is how to start a conversation with him, ask him about his feelings for her, etc. Do I tell him I went through his phone? I feel like it was wrong of me to do it now, but I can't unsee what I read. I really love him, and I don't want to throw away an otherwise good relationship over some texts, but I also absolutely cannot tolerate being cheated on. A user in the comments said, "That is cheating in my book. I'm a 35-year-old male. Just letting you privy to some information. The only reason I would consider dating a 20-year-old would be for sex, no offense." It sounds like Rick is very much emotionally attached to Jolene and her daughter. So, he gets to flirt and hang around her and her kid and gets some young trim while still trying to get back with his ex. This is an opportunity to take a huge step forward and not sell yourself short. I would say, hey, peeped your phone and it looks like you got a 9-day streak going with your ex. Why not make it 10, asshole, over at her place? I hate this stuff, but I have been the victim of this manipulation before. Oh, we were just. Or, I didn't think you'd mind. No, duck that. If he cared about your feelings, he wouldn't have done that. You are worth a lot. Don't offer people a discount. The next story is titled, Update, I, 21F, believe my boyfriend, 32 meters, of 1 year is emotionally cheating on me and amp. I don't know how to talk to him about it. My original post didn't get a lot of interest, but there were a few people who asked for an update and I really just need to vent. The night that I made my original post, Rick called me to tell me he was going to visit his brother who lives in a nearby city. Jolene also lives in this city. As soon as he called, I knew what was going to happen, but I kept my mouth shut because I wanted concrete proof. He was sharing his location with me and I watched and took screenshots of him drive directly to her house and stay there for 2.5 hours. I even texted my sister who lives about 20 minutes away from Jolene about it, and she drove there and took a video of his truck in her driveway. Needless to say, I was absolutely pissed. I cried to my mom about it, then went to his house and packed up all my stuff and brought it to my parents' place. Not long after I got back to their house, he called me to tell me he was headed home. I asked him, "So are you going to tell me the truth about where you were tonight?" He acted oblivious, said, "I was just at my brother's, what are you talking about?" When I said, "Okay, if you're going to lie to me that's all I need to know," he immediately started apologizing, saying he just went there for a visit, he just wanted to see her daughter, and he wasn't trying to hide anything from me. My favorite part was, "If you would have asked, I would have told you, all you had to do is ask." I just asked you, and you lied to me? So, he asked if I would come and talk to him in person the next day. This is where dumb witch me trademark comes into play. I went the next day after work to talk to him. I asked him to be honest and tell me if he slept with her. He said no. We had a long conversation of him saying he ducked up, but he didn't want to lose me, etc. etc. At the end of it, basically we decided to still be together, but that it was going to take a lot for him to regain my trust. My one condition for him was to not talk to her, and if she did talk to him, or vice versa, I needed to know about it. I told him if that makes me a psycho witch then he should just break up with me. So, for about 2 weeks we were still in a relationship but not spending near as much time together, saying I love you, or having sex. Basically, it was like we restarted. However, during this time, she remained his best friend on Snapchat, and he continued to hide his phone from me. After 2 weeks I had gone to visit him, and we started talking about the situation. He was accusing me of cheating with someone to get back at him, with zero reason to believe this, saying he feels like he's walking on eggshells and that I don't trust him, and he can't trust me. I asked him what he wanted to do about it because at this point, I was so done with putting in all the effort. He told me he wanted a break, and I told him I don't do breaks. So, we decided for a week we would just have some time to ourselves, but the rules of a relationship would still apply. I left to go back to work, and that week he went and stayed the night at her house 3 times. That week was so ducking hard for me, laying awake at night watching his location on my phone, knowing he was in bed with her. I barely wanted to exist, let alone go to work during the day. So that weekend, I went to see him again and broke it off for good. I decided on my drive there that I was going to keep it simple and not blow up at him, so all I said was, I don't think we should be together anymore. He hugged me, and his eyes got teary, which was hard, but literally the next day him and Jolene were publicly dating, and still are. Now I'm dealing with the aftermath of them turning certain friends against me as well. I'm not sure what he says about me, but I've already had a few people unfriend and unfollow me. I guess I just don't understand how it's not blatantly obvious to these people that he cheated on me, but oh well. I wish I could tell everyone the whole story, and show them all the screenshots, so everyone would see what they really did, but I know that's not the right thing to do, and honestly, it's not the kind of person I am. The hardest part of this all has been the overwhelming feeling that I'm not good enough. I have always struggled with my self-esteem, but this has completely destroyed my confidence, and I feel utterly worthless. I can't get past the thought that I was just a placeholder for him until she wanted him again. The next story is titled, My So 31F is well off. She is constantly buying expensive gifts for me 25M, even when I ask her not to. For Christmas she wants to pay off my student loans as her Christmas present. However, we have only been dating for barely a year. Background: I have been dating a girl who let's call Trish for less than a year. We met at my friend's New Year's party. I will be honest, I was not really looking for a long-term relationship at first, as I had just got out of one. However, those thoughts rapidly disappeared. She is gorgeous, smart, and a dork like me. The fact that she gets genuinely happy to see me means a lot. We have similar hobbies, and both work in tech. She very much has the dominant personality that makes it very hard for me to refuse her. But she isn't abusive or anything like that. There is also a fairly big age gap, but I really like her. Trish is well off. She was one of the first employees at a tech company that ended up being bought out by a larger one. I don't really know how wealthy she is, but I honestly don't care. While she does oftentimes spends a lot of money, several times she has told me money isn't an issue for her. She has also very much told me that she knows what she is doing regarding money. Monday was my birthday. She spent probably somewhere over a 1K on gifts for me. The thing is, they were all things at one point. I made a comment about it or something. She bought me a watch that I vaguely remember looking at back in February. I said it was a nice watch. So, there is thought there. I tried to get her to return the stuff, saying this is way too much, but she 100% refused. For her birthday back in July, I made her favorite food and seemed genuinely happy with this, and specifically forbade me from spending money on her. On the other hand, I am poor. I got a master's in a useless subject, and currently work as entry-level software developer. I have a ton of debt, and frankly my finances were a mess. She knows how much of a mess they were because she sat down with me one day and basically untangled the mess, and taught me proper budgeting, investing, etc. Last night we were talking about Christmas, and what our plans are. Eventually it came to gifts, where I basically begged her not to spend anything on me forever, and that I cannot get her anything on the same level of what she bought me. She made a big deal and told me she didn't want anything like that, and she wanted her gift to be spending Christmas with me. Trish, on the other hand, said that her gift for me is she is going to pay off all my debt, so I can stop worrying about it. I really thought she was joking, but she is completely serious. Personally, I said sure, because that is pretty awesome. I feel this is insane, and I genuinely don't understand. We have been dating less than a year. Everyone I have talked to has either said she is joking or lying. But I know she isn't. Which makes me all the more confused. I am looking for advice. I really just don't know how to respond or handle this type of thing at all. I do genuinely really love spending time with her, and if she never paid a cent, she is still easily the best person I have ever dated. Can someone help me please? A user in the comments said, "Look, accept this money if you can see yourself with this woman for the long haul. Don't do it if you can't, because if you can't see a future together it can change the way you see the relationship and make you build up resentment. This woman is in love with you, and in my opinion the way you write makes it sound like you're in love with her. If so, congratulations, not because of the money, because money comes and goes and only pops up in your mind when you don't have enough of it, but because you've found love, which is much harder to find and makes you feel great in the best of times and better in the worst of times." The next story is titled, "Update, my so 31F is well off. She is constantly buying expensive gifts for me 25M, even when I ask her not to. So, after reading all the advice I got from you guys, I agreed to let her pay off my student loans. I have also kind of just given in and agreed that I have no say on how she spends her money on me. However, I explained that I will never be anywhere near as successful as her, so I can never really reciprocate gifts on her level. She was completely fine with this. I also agreed that come February I am going to move in with her, since she has asked me a fair number of times about this. So, I jokingly said that could be her Christmas present and she got extremely happy. I will be honest, I still feel somewhat uncomfortable and uncertain about everything. I still feel that there must be some sort of catch or something. I met her friends and apparently her last 2 relationships all fell apart within a year, and it apparently came down to her somewhat forceful dominant personality. Personally, I like part of her, so it doesn't bother me. Anyways, thanks guys, I think I made the right choice. I will see where this goes." The next story is titled, "Brother cheated on wife of 2 years. Ran off with side piece. My brother is making all the wrong decisions. He married a nice young girl from India, who didn't want to stay in the US, and now she is stuck here in the States away from everyone she knows because of the lockdown. She found out her husband, my brother, has been cheating with a coworker through looking at my brother's text messages when he wasn't looking. When the wife comforted the side piece, the other woman was proud to have done what she did. Husband then runs off after being confronted about the cheating. Now, he blocked my family from his social media and has now even removed wife's photos from said social media accounts, for every extended family member to see that something is up. To top it all off, in these 2 years, my brother has been domestically and psychologically abusing his wife. I tried to encourage a separation, but she claimed it will all go away, eventually. It died down, yeah, but I'm not sure of all the stories and hearsay. After the first incident, I lost every ounce of respect I had for him. Now, he sunk lower than a crap hole. I am purely ashamed of him, but I'm even more or as pissed off of the side piece for lusting after a married man and convincing my brother to cut off his friends and his family who have been trying to get him psychological help. Ooh boy, this drama is still developing as my brother is living with the other women, and since he decided to cut off his wife, he is now financially unstable because wife was the money maker of the two. He mooched off of the wife's money, she bought everything he has. From what I hear, the other girl isn't exactly living in luxury. Is he truly in love? I do not know or care. He is dead to me. I'm helping the wife find a new apartment and helping her deal with paperwork. She will have a better life without the scumbag. Side note, I stole my brother's true love, his gaming system. He has to see me in order to get it back. This is the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed the relationship stories. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video and write a comment. I really appreciate your support and it helps my channel so much. Thank you.